smiling. He knew she spoke English, had known from the expressions on her face as she'd followed his earlier conversation with the Eisenbergs, all in English. He had met greenhorns before, knew their nodding at wrong moments, their delayed smiles, awkward laughter, baffled eyes. There was none of that in her. She was tired, yes, after the long journey she had made, and certainly confused and distressed by his brother's behavior at the station. But she was not a woman who didn't understand what was being said all around her. She understood perfectly, and yet pretended she didn't. That intrigued him. He had wanted her at once, had decided the moment he'd first stepped into the room. It was not her beauty that drew him, not merely her beauty. He saw it, of course. How could one not? The fine bones of her face, the smoky blue eyes. But it was the tension in her, a feral tension, part hunger, part fear. It was that which had quickened his blood. That, not her shame, which had made him return the next day with his witnesses and brandy. He had not expected to find such tension in the living room of Sam Eisenberg, the button king of Montreal. He had met many girls already in the living rooms of Jewish Montreal. Nice girls and not so nice, intelligent girls, beautiful girls, wily, witty, hopeful girls. But this? No, not this. Please, he said now, holding out a segment of the plum. The first exchange of their married life. He watched her, his new bride, as she took a bite of the fruit. Her eyes filled with tears. What? He asked. Nothing. She shook her head, closed her eyes briefly. It's a good plum, not too sweet. They had both fasted that day in accordance with tradition. Should they have broken that fast on something else, Nathan wondered now? Begun their marriage with a bite of egg, perhaps, symbolic of new life? A slice of melon, wholly sweet, without the tart edge of a plum? It's many years since I tasted a plum like that, Lily said in her near-perfect English. She handed the remainder of the segment back to him, took a long drink of water, then held the glass against her cheek to cool her skin. It's warm, he said, and she agreed. She moved the glass to her other cheek, though it was no longer cool on her skin. Nathan handed her a napkin, and she smiled her thanks as she wiped the sweat from her brow and upper lip. He had not seen her smile until then. Lily Azerov Kramer. She was not who she said she was. No one really is, I suppose, but Lily's deception was more literal than most. Her name before. She'd left it there, in that beaten village where the first Lily had died, freeing, among other things, an identity card to replace the one she'd discarded, an identity that could propel a future if someone would just step into it. Someone would, of course. The village was in Poland, 1944. Nothing went unused. And here are some of the things that someone acquired when she stole the identity of a girl she hadn't known at all in life. The name, first of all, Lily Azerov. The identity card. A pair of woolen socks, a notebook filled with dreams and other scribblings, a single frosted stone. She pulled the socks over the threadbare ones she was already wearing. The identity card and notebook she stuffed into the waistband of her trousers, but not before memorizing the only item of practical worth in the notebook's pages. Sonia Nemetz, Rehov Hayarkon 7, Tel Aviv. The stone, which she knew to be a diamond, she slipped inside her body. It was only then that she hesitated, only as she was ready to leave, that something as strong as her will to survive overtook her. She knew she should flee. Every instinct prodded her to leave that village at once and make her way back to the forest, where she could wait until it was safe to start moving again. And then to move, to join the mass of refugees flooding west in the wake of the liberating army, to fold herself into that mass and begin the life that might, in time, become her own. Move, she told herself, as she had so many times over the past 3 years, her instinct always keeping her a few inches beyond death's grasp. But something other than instinct rose in her that day. She hesitated. Her eye lingered. Was it the angle of the dead girl's body, limbs slightly askew as her younger sisters had once been in sleep? A fragment of the girl's dreams that had floated up and entered her as she quickly leafed through the notebook? The shadow of the rat skittering, the smell of its next meal luring it closer? She stayed. She placed her open hand on the smooth, cold brow, passed it over the sightless eyes, grayish blue like her own, and brought down the lids.